10 years ago, it was all about the Belgians and the lagers. Today, it's all about the IPAs.
We love beer for its flavor and aroma. But don't forget about the foam.
He's Joe Sixpack, I'm Glen Macnow, and this is What's Brewing.
What's Brewing is brought to you in part by Montgo Makers, powered by the Valley Forge Tourism and Convention Board. Download the app. By Visit Bucks County. Follow the Bucks County Ale Trail. Go to visitbuckscounty.com/ale trail to get your passport. And by the Conshohocken Brewing Company, now with 5 locations.
It's a place that inspires the dreamers, the overachievers. A place for those who follow the path, as well as the ones who blaze them. So whether you want to go with the flow or rise above it all, visit Bucks County and be inspired.
Hey, welcome to What's Brewing, along with Joe Sixpack. I'm Glen Macnow. We are at the Rec Room in Phoenixville by Conshohocken Brewing Company, a fun place. They got the ping pong and the shuffleboard, all the great games. And nice to see you, my friend.
Cheers.
I'm drinking a nice 2-hour delay winter wheat IPA by Conchi Brewing.
The Robusto Porter, which is one of my favorites. So.
Okay, but we're going to start out today with our beer trade with something entirely different and kind of hard to find.
It is. Dark lagers. I thought, this was a style of beer that used to be around quite a bit. Mm-hmm. When you wanted a dark beer, it almost always was a dark lager.
I need a new opener. There we
go.
go. Okay.
All right.
Good luck to you.
So I wanted to. I thought we should trade off on these the dark lagers.
All right. So I brought you by Penn Brewing out of Pittsburgh. You say maybe the oldest current brewer in Penn? No, it can't be. That's Yingling.
Well, the of the new craft brewers. Yes.
Okay. And this is their Penn Dark Lager. There you go. That's a nice looking beer. What do we know about this puppy?
Pour. So it's a sort of a Munich style dark lager, which is, basically think lager, but add extra dark caramel malt to it. And it should give it a little bit of sweetness and breadiness.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I get the caramel right at the start.
Exactly. But you know what? Unlike, say, a porter or a stout, it's easy, it's sort of light drinking. I actually made the case that this was a summer beer at one time, but
really?
You don't really see it out in the summer very much.
No, I don't think dark in the summer, but it's nice. It's refreshing, it's light. Okay, good stuff. What do you got?
Well, I wanted to get you maybe something a little bit more closer to the original. This is Hofbrau Dunkel, which is basically the same style beer.
Yeah, I saw it. I noticed.
And it is from...
I'm still using that thing we did at the Christmas episode where you shoot it off.
From Bavaria. The famous Hofbrau house there is a great tourist site, maybe one of the can't-miss destinations in the world. A little bit more lively, but I don't think it has quite the flavor.
No, I tell you, I like this one better. The local one is nicer. This one's got a little bit of an aftertaste that I don't particularly find all that pleasant.
I don't think it traveled particularly well, and I think that the local version is a little bit better.
I like it. So hard to find these beers. Lagers overall, you don't see them as much?
All right, so we're right down the street from a great bottle shop, the Foodery in Phoenixville, and I spent maybe a half an hour looking for dark lagers. I came up with 4 out of there, including these 2 here. The Kostritzer, which is actually a Schwarzbier, which is a black beer from Germany. And then the Chamonix Creek Neshaminator, which is really a Bock beer. And that was it. I mean, there was nothing else. They aren't really that popular, mainly because IPAs have sort of swamped the market.
Also takes longer to make these. So if you're a brewery, you're committing more resources to a beer, which is, an economic decision.
It's true. It's an economic decision to make them, but it's also an economic decision to sell them. Because they're not that popular anymore, you're seeing people pull back from them. A great example is Sly Fox Dunkel. It used to be out all the time. It used to be in cans. Can't find it anywhere but on draft these days.
All right, I want to get into another topic and want to congratulate a couple of local breweries. Paste Magazine recently did the 50 best breweries of the decade nationwide. 2 local breweries made the list. At number 3, Tired Hands in Ardmore.
43, number 43.
43, what did I say?
3.
No, excuse me, if they wish. 43.
43rd most important or best American brewery of the decade is Tired Hands in Ardmore. Yeah, and I mean they got a great reputation. People line up for that beer. Oh, the beer also gets traded around the country, so it gets has a pretty good rep.
All right, they're number 43, and number 37, very popular Dogfish Head out of Delaware. We've had a lot of their beers over the years.
It's true. The top 5 were 5 that I know I've had, I think, beers from all of them, going from 5 down. Jester King from Austin.
Never
brewery.
tried.
Allagash from Maine, which I know
Sure.
you're a big fan of.
Yeah.
Fremont in Seattle. I just tried them for the first time this year. Treehouse.
Yeah, I love Treehouse beers. That Treehouse, Trillium, Lord Hobo, that area up outside in Massachusetts is just great.
And the one that I would really agree is that his #1 spot is Firestone Walker. Such a great brewery. So.
And the criteria they used for this was how strong has the brewery been through the decade, right? They didn't want one that maybe just over the last year or two made impact.
Exactly, and I think that one of the things that they had several criteria along that way that sort of was that, you know, what's the importance? And the one I think that they missed that really, and locally at least, it should have been part of that, is Iron Hill. Iron Hill has grown amazingly. It's had a huge influence on the local beer scene, and they have won more national medals for their beers than any other brewery.
So they did innovation, importance, and how strong they've been. All right, real quickly, we got to do we're doing the brew down. We're going from the final 8 to the final 4.
Right, we're getting into the final 4. So in this week we had 2 beers in the flavored section going up. The Ship Bottom Mexican Stout. I know that was one of your favorite beers of the year.
Love that beer.
Going against the hometown favorite, the Conshohocken Blood Money.
Yeah, love that beer.
And that one, unfortunately, it fell. So it was a close one, 57 to 43.
I love our Blood Money. If it's going to lose to the Ship Bottom Mexican Stout. As you know, that was one of my beers of the year when we did that. So okay.
And in the other bracket, in the Pils bracket, we had Sly Fox Pikeland Pils edging out in the Chamonix Creek Trauger, 51 to 49. So that gives us
Final 4
of Sly Fox Pikeland Pils versus that Ship Bottom Mexican Stout.
Good.
And then Sly Fox O'Reilly Stout. Yeah, somehow the guy who made up the brackets was drinking when he did it. So, and Sly Fox O'Reilly Stout will face off against, in the sour division, Dogfish Head Sea Quench.
Well, it's been a lot of fun throughout. We appreciate everybody who responds to the polls. You can follow, by the way, at Beer Radar on Twitter, at Real Glen Macnow. The show is at What's Brewing PA. Always love your feedback. Coming up, Joe Sixpack's going to review the decade in beer in Philadelphia. There have been a lot of changes. We're going to talk about all of that. We're at the Rec Room in Phoenixville by Conshohocken Brewing Company for What's Brewing. Welcome back to What's Brewing, where I am going to be sticking with my Conshohocken Brewing Company Blood.
Can't say I blame you. That's a very good beer, Glenn.
We're at the Rec Room in Phoenixville, and this place was not here a decade ago. In fact, the whole scene in Phoenixville was not here a decade ago, with all of the great breweries, brew pubs here. And Joe Sixpack, as the year ends, it gives us the opportunity to kind of do a review. You're the guy who knows this more than anybody. Number one, let's talk about the growth from what was in 2010 versus now.
Yeah, and you know, Phoenixville is a great example of that because there really was nothing here. I mean, there was nothing here in Phoenixville, and beer has been a big part of the growth of this town, and we've seen that regionally. 10 years ago, 8 breweries in all Philadelphia and maybe about 35 in the whole region or so. Yeah. Today, there are 28 breweries in the city of Philadelphia and more than 140 in the whole region. It's just taken off.
Breweries regionally. That really is amazing. Now, there are reasons for that. One is, of course, people's taste change. People are much more interested in beer, but you're saying certain legal and rules changes have helped that.
There was a huge rule change in both New Jersey and Pennsylvania in which you were able to sell beer directly to the public out of breweries at a license that was very, very affordable. And so it enabled people to open up breweries that where they could make a profit if they just sold beer out of their own little tap system. They didn't have to distribute the beer into a regional area, which has a lot of expenses to it. So you saw people basically opening up breweries that are tiny, 1, 2, 3 barrel systems that could fit into a small room. So
yeah, everybody who used to be a home brewer now has decided, like, you know what, I'll try it as a business. And you know what, a lot of them, it's working.
It has. I've actually encountered a lot of people, it was sort of their second career. It was a new part of life.
Good.
So the other thing is that you're right, that people's tastes have changed, and a lot of people use beer as a way to travel. They want to go to a brewery as part of their destination. And so for Phoenixville, you see people coming here, they want to come here specifically because there's 5 different places or 6 breweries right here in town. So
listen, we got the place in Havertown, right? And all of a sudden in Havertown, there's like 3 or 4 pretty good spots within a couple blocks. Whoever thought that our old town of Havertown would be a destination?
Exactly.
All right, next thing I want to ask you about is clearly taste change. I look at this menu behind us, right? There's a lot of IPAs on there, hazy New England, all kinds of IPAs. That was not the scene in 2010, right?
No, to the point of the beers that we traded at the top of the show. You used to see a lot more dark lagers out there. You used to see a lot more different beers out there. We've become very IPA-centric in recent years. In the last 5 years, really, it's become all about IPAs. You go into bars where they used to have 24 taps, or they'd have 20 different styles of beer. Today, they might have 20 of them are IPAs, and the rest are on the edge.
And we've spent a lot of time like trying to project, like, okay, what's next? I remember like those brute IPAs we thought might be the thing, and gauches, whatever.
Right.
And IPAs have really held strong.
They have, although we've seen the emergence.
Sours,
Exactly.
not that sours have left, but they kind of peaked, and it's still IPAs.
I agree 100%. Although the thing about IPAs that we've seen, at least here in the Philadelphia area and in the East, is the emergence of the hazy IPA.
Oh, yeah.
Right, which you see everywhere.
Actually, hold on, where's my hazy? Here's my hazy. There we go.
People love that haziness. And part of it is just the looks, but also the flavor. These hazy IPAs are not as bitter as they used to be. They're all about the aromatics and a little bit more about the kind of juicy flavors.
Okay, so let's talk about maybe what we haven't seen locally here, which has been a national trend of the big guys, the Anheuser-Busch's buying up kind of those mid-level ones. Not so much here?
Exactly. No, I mean, I've always been waiting for Anheuser-Busch to come in and buy one of the big breweries.
Well, I think they're knocking at the door over there.
Really, I'm surprised they haven't. But instead, what we've seen locally has been the emergence of private equity into the beer scene. So we've seen investors come in and say, in the case of Victory, bring together Victory and Southern Tier and Blue Point as a group that they've invested in. Same goes with Flying Fish. Had private equity money come in so that they could expand.
So how does that impact the consumer, or does it not really impact the consumer?
I don't think that impacts the consumer as much as, say, AB coming in. With Anheuser-Busch coming in, you tend to see them dominate sort of specific bars and also the sporting arenas, where you'll see all of the Anheuser craft labels in one space. When private equity comes in, it has more to do with opening up their expansion and getting into new territory.
So when you and I do this show in December 2029, okay, Boomer? Right, when we do that, project for me.
It's hard to see IPAs disappear. I do think that we're going to see more, and we're going to see like a fewer large breweries, the size of, say, New Belgium or Lagunitas. There won't be as many as those, but I still think, and I'm very bullish on the very small breweries that have opened up and they serve just their neighborhoods. I think we're going to still see them.
All right, real quickly, a little bit of news, and we're talking about sales. Ballast Point, New Belgium, there's like everybody, those ones are all selling out, right?
They are, but that Ballast Point one is the one that's a head scratcher. Nobody can figure this one out. Just a few years ago, that brewery sold to the Constellation Brands, huge beer or alcoholic beverage company, sold for billion. I mean, the guys at Ballast Point have got to
Wow.
be the happiest people.
Got that money.
Yeah, well, they sold for $1 billion, and then just a few years later, they sold for an undisclosed amount, considered to be much, much less, to a brewery called Kings and Convicts outside of Chicago.
Never heard of.
Brewed less than 500 barrels of beer last year. It's like,
So the little fish swallowed the big fish?
yeah, it's unbelievable. It's like the equivalent of if Conshohocken Brewery turned around and bought Yingling out of the blue. Yeah.
You've seen our business plan.
Yeah.
There you go. Probably not. Hey, coming up, you can get a lot of things other than beer here, including this fine cocktail. We're going to talk to one of the bartenders here at the Rec Room and find out all of the options with Joe Sixpack. I'm Glen Macnow, Rec Room in Phoenixville on What's Brewing.
I'm Joe Sixpack. I love beer and I love travel. I've visited great breweries around the world, and I'm inviting you to join me on my next expedition to France. Yes, they make beer in France. We'll travel the Seine on a luxury river cruise from Paris to Normandy. We'll visit breweries, explore the sights, drink great beer, and maybe some wine. Join me in October 2020. Just visit my website at phillybeerworld.com. Let's discover a world of beer together.
Welcome back to the Rec Room in Phoenixville by Conshohocken Brewing, where I am enjoying a nice MC5 double dry hopped. Look at this, baby. Joe Sixpack, Glen Macnow, and we are joined by Eric Bell, bartender here. And Eric, the question comes up. People come to a place like this, it's a great brew pub, but maybe they don't like beer. You got options.
Shame.
We have
Shame.
options, yes.
Yeah, I know. What are you coming for? But there's a lot of choices, and there's a lot of good choices. Maybe just run us through some of what people can get here.
Yes, so we are, everything we sell here has to be from Pennsylvania. So we do Pennsylvania wine, Pennsylvania spirits. We have cider from Windridge.
All right, let's go left to right. That looks like wine. What do we got?
Yes, we have Cabernet. That is from Newtown Square.
Okay.
That is our cider from Windridge out in Newark, Pennsylvania.
Hard cider,
Nice,
good.
sir, yes, nice and dry. That is our beer cocktail. That is a Heidi Sue.
And
So
they
it's-
made me one of these as well. So it's a cocktail made with beer,
yes,
which I'm a big fan of. What goes into this one?
so it is, we muddle blueberries and some mints, a little bit of vodka, sweet tea, and our Philly Vice, our
know what?
blueberry Berliner Weiss.
I have to try the other one of those.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense in there. I like the mint in there. More, we're filming this in the winter time. This seems more of a little bit of a summer drink to me, but not too bad though.
Yeah, the reason we keep this year round is this building was, before we opened the Rec Room, was Heidi Sue's, an old five and dime.
Oh, yeah,
that
sure, I
has been
remember
here,
that.
Since
Yeah.
the 50s, so
That's a nice tribute.
yeah, so tribute to them.
All right, so this is
That is our sangria. So that's
Nice.
our sweater season sangria for the winter time.
all right.
This is our cranberry mule. So we did regular mule and we did cranberry for
So
the
full
holiday season.
cocktails.
Yeah, full cocktails.
You got the full, as we can see, you got all the
Yeah.
liquors. All right, and this is a very light beer.
Your favorite, that is our new hard seltzer.
Yeah, okay. Listen,
I'll give it a taste. I know the two of us are not the biggest fans of seltzer. The new product from Conchi Brewing, though.
Yes, new product. People want it. It's gluten-free.
Yeah.
You have to.
You gotta-
Not my favorite, but you have to peel.
you got to sell what people like.
Is there vanilla in this?
There's a little vanilla, so vanilla and strawberry. So I get a little bit of creaminess in the
Or,
beginning.
yeah, cream, like it actually does remind me of a cream soda.
Yeah.
So
And a little strawberry at the end.
yeah, I can see people who will like it. Not my favorite, but we won't go down that path this afternoon.
But
We drop a shot of vodka in there for you. It'll be good to go.
Speaking of which, you do have a lot of other spirits from around the state. This is Tattered Flag Raspado tequila.
Well, for Pennsylvania, it has to be tequila to be made in Mexico.
right,
So this is
yeah.
our agave spirit.
Yeah.
oh, agave.
like-
Okay, so it's I
it's like
got
calling
you.
something Scotch, it has to be from
Right,
Scotland,
correct.
right?
Okay.
That's out of Harrisburg.
Harrisburg, south of the border, I'd say.
There you go. Yeah, exactly.
South of the New York State border,
Yeah,
somewhere.
Actually, that's pretty. It's very smooth. Wow, I'm surprised. First time I ever had a tequila-like beverage that was not made in Mexico. So not bad.
And the law that says it's got to be from Pennsylvania actually benefits everybody, because now places that are distilleries and other places can carry beer. The licensing is much easier than it used to be, right?
Right. Yes. Yeah. It has more options for us to open up more spots around town and off a liquor license.
So how hard is it to select the spirits and wines that you are going to serve in this place? Because you do have a pretty good variety out there for you to choose
We
from.
do. I mean, we have a lot of people, reps coming in here and pushing products, and we try to support local as much as we can. But no, Sean, our GM, has good, knows a bunch of people in town and good connections, so try to carry
Other
the
than
best.
beer, biggest selling liquor on the menu?
I would say right now the sangria or the cranberry mules. Every day is different. You know, one Friday night it could be old fashioned. The next day you're slugging a bunch of mules. So
Okay,
it changes every day.
So usually the question that bartenders are asked is that by wine drinkers, what kind of beer would I like? Let's say you're a beer drinker and you want to drink a wine. And I'm an IPA fan. What kind of wine would you suggest I try?
I mean, we just have the Cabernet or a house blend. So it depends, white or if you like the white or red.
This one is again?
That is our Cabernet.
That's the Cabernet, okay.
Well, you are going to just try
mixing.
everything today, aren't you?
It's there for the
It's
picking,
there.
right?
Yeah, I don't usually mix that much, but there you have it. Great stuff, and what's nice is it really allows you and the other people here to be creative, try new things, new cocktails, and that's terrific. Eric Bell, thank you so much for having
Appreciate
us.
it. Cheers. Thanks for having me.
And when we come back here at the Rec Room, we're going to talk to a guy who is an expert in beer foam. Can't live without it on What's Brewing. Hi, it's Glen Macnow. You've seen some of our Conshohocken Brewing Company's spots on this show, so I'd like to invite you to come and check them out. You can find us in Conshohocken, Bridgeport, Phoenixville, King of Prussia, and here in Havertown, where I'm enjoying an award-winning Puddler's Row right now. It's one of our year-round core beers, along with Type A IPA and user-friendly Blonde Ale. We've also got exciting seasonal beers, like Blood Money IPA, Philly Vice, and our Unfiltered IPA series. And come hungry. From burgers and wings to salads and small bites, there's something for everyone. Don't leave without trying the amazing cheese curds. All of our spots are built for year-round fun, so you can enjoy a cold one in every season. And good news, you can find Conshohocken beer at grocery stores, distributors, and restaurants throughout PA, South Jersey, and Delaware. So get yourself to Conshohocken Brewing Company. I'll meet you at the bar. Welcome back to What's Brewing with the Rec Room in Phoenixville, right across from the Colonial Theater. What a great place it is here, as you've seen. Joined by Dr. Roger Barth, who is a professor of chemistry at Westchester University. Doc, before we talk, all right, Joe Sixpack, you and I are going to pour beers differently. 1, 2, 3, go. All right.
So mine could take a
Hurry
while.
up there, son. So, Doc, I think you've gone far enough.
All right.
Who did it right?
Depends on where you are.
Okay.
In Britain, right? The major reason for Brexit is because, right, the people there do not like a head of foam, and an EU glass has a little line in it, and you're supposed to fill it up to that line. And they said we're not getting the right amount of beer, right? So they don't like foam too much; they like beer. So so for Britain, Don's pours right, and
The rest of Europe, there you go. I'm more continental.
For like America's like a little head.
The Doc is an expert in beer foam. How do you
Well, he's
drag these
a chemistry
bits up?
professor. We wanted to talk about beer foam because it's always a bit of controversy, as you pointed out, with the different countries. But we wanted to talk to you about the importance of foam in beer. Beer is the only beverage that can carry its own foam, correct?
I've heard something called there's some kind of nitrogen coffee. That
Okay,
does
we'll
as
ignore
well.
that. That's
alcohol.
alcohol. That.
Real beverages, yeah. That's right. You can tell beer from across the room. If it didn't have the foam, look, that could be iced tea.
Right.
That's beer.
Mm-hmm.
So the foam is it gives you that visual appeal. It influences the flavor because the gas that makes the foam is full of aroma compounds, if the beer has an aroma, and you know, you've got your nose in it, the bubbles are breaking, and so they're bringing that aroma to you. Also, it's been found that the foam suppresses the waves, so if you're carrying a beer around, right, it doesn't splosh out as much.
So, functional as much as flavor. You know the doc is serious because he has actually written books. Mastering Brewing Science is one of his books, and The Chemistry of Beer. I don't know the chemistry of beer.
I
other
actually
than
had
like
that textbook at home. It's the textbook he uses for his chemistry of beer course at Westchester University. You brought some test tubes here to demonstrate a little bit about foam. What are we going to do with these here, Doctor?
Well, we're going to pour beer in one, and we're going to put these one up on the bar, and
Okay.
Sure. Here, you
Shot 'em
pour.
and
Here's
we
a.
wanna-
This is a nice MC5, one of the great ones here at Conshohocken Brewing.
okay, so we're going to pour beer into one, just a little bit, you know,
Okay.
and we're going to pour
There's some
seltzer into the other. Seltzer actually has more gas in it than beer. Where's the foam? Nothing,
So why is that?
right? Because it's a question of the stability, right? Bubbles, right? When you make a bubble, you're stretching the water. The water wants to bounce back, right? So it takes energy to stretch a bubble, right? Beer has stuff in it. It's got proteins and it's got the stuff from the hops that actually coats the bubbles and it keeps them stable, so they hang in there for a while. You don't want them to hang in there too long, otherwise you end up with a great big glass of foam and a great big and a bunch of nothing. What I have here is boiling chips, right? These are things that have
Man
like
brought all his
little
own
sights
props.
on them, little sights on them. That so when we pop that in there, you'll see that the bubbles form on the
Chips.
on the chips, right? And you know, now beer sort of has its own what called nucleation sites. That is, the molecules of carbon dioxide are not going to find each other and make a bubble in the middle of nowhere, right? So they form on something, right? And if you have too many of those somethings, the beer hits the ceiling. And if you have not enough of the somethings, you get a bunch of nothing. No
We
foam.
got to wrap up. I have a couple quick questions. One, I have been told, actually, we did a thing on pouring beer last year, that if the bubbles don't go in the beer, they're going to go in your belly and you're going to get more gas. True?
I think so. I think that you know, if you pour like that, then the gas is still in there. It's not really coming out that much, and so you know, you'll belch more or something.
Okay,
I mean,
one
it's
other real quick question. We've always heard if you shake up a can of beer, right, and it's going to explode, but if you tap it a few times, it won't. True?
I don't think so.
Well, let's find out. Not true. There you go. Doc, thank you so much for joining us. I'd shake your hand, but I'm all wet. For Joe Sixpack, I'm Glen Macnow, Dr. Roger Barth. Great stuff. And thanks to everybody here at the Rec Room in Phoenixville by Conshohocken Brewing. We'll see you next week on What's Brewing.
What's Brewing is brought to you in part by Macnow Makers, powered by the Valley Forge Tourism and Convention Board. Download the app. By Visit Bucks County. Follow the Bucks County Ale Trail. Go to visitbuckscounty.com/ale trail to get your passport. And by the Conshohocken Brewing Company, now with 5 locations.